Honey, you keep hurting your own feelings because you think that someone's inconsistency is grounds for you to try harder. When really their inconsistency is this huge red flag right in front of you, this huge stop sign that's telling you to stop, don't pass go, don't collect $200 because this is going to be a toxic relationship. But I think that when we try to prove our worth to others, it just shows how we have a lack of self-worth within ourselves. When really someone's inconsistency should show you that this person has different values, they have their own internal struggles, or they just don't know how to be in a relationship, or they don't know how to be in a relationship that you want to be in. So that's why it's important to know your worth, not only that, but to know what you want when it comes down to a relationship, but also know your core values and know what you're willing to deal with and not deal with when it comes down to a relationship. And understanding that sometimes that means you might have to be alone until you meet someone who does align with your core values and who aligns with what you truly want in a relationship and how you want someone to show up for you. I think that a lot of us settle because we don't want to be alone. So we settle for that inconsistency, thinking that it's, oh, we just have to work harder to show them that we love them. When really love is not something that you have to work hard for. And I do blame the way that we probably grew up thinking that we had to compete for love, or that we had to compete for someone's attention. Or I know for me, growing up, I was always told, oh, if a boy is mean to you, or if they act a certain way towards you, that means that they like you, when really that couldn't be further from the truth. And even if it is a little bit of the truth, I think that's very toxic, and that's how we end up in toxic relationships. When we have this core thought from childhood that when a boy is mean to you, when they don't show you any attention, that they like you. And I can't even wrap my head around that because it's so dumb. But it's true. And I don't know if it's a cultural thing or if it's a universal thing, but I do know that that has been something that's been said in the Black community. If a person likes you, they're going to treat you with kindness. They're going to treat you with respect. They're going to value you. They're going to value their relationship with you. And they're going to try to do anything in their power not to mess that up if they like you. And if they like themselves, because inconsistency has way more to do with the other person than it has to do with you. Take that as this person is just struggling internally. This person just doesn't know what they want. This person just doesn't know what they value. This person just doesn't know how to be in a relationship. And you use your emotional intelligence to know that, okay, these are the things that I'm seeing. These are the things that I'm feeling. So I'm just going to remove myself from the situation because it doesn't make me feel good. And as I've grown and as I have developed a sort of emotional intelligence, I realized that I don't want to be around anyone that doesn't make me feel good, that doesn't make me feel valued. And that's the thing. Sometimes we're going to have to be alone. Sometimes we're going to have to be friendless. Sometimes we're going to have to be single for a while until we meet someone or meet people who truly align with what we value and they have very similar values, and we can come together and have relationship with each other. But the thing is, we see these red flags to begin with, and we think that these red flags are just gonna magically turn green, but they're not. Sometimes people change for other people, and I wouldn't even say that they change for the other person. I think that they just have some type of awakening and some type of epiphany that makes them realize that, yes, this is the person that I do want to be with. Like, I truly see their value because this other person has taken themselves out of the situation. And then, sometimes it calls for you taking yourself out of a situation for a person to see your true value. Although I don't love that because I want someone to just see my value to begin with. But in some cases, everyone's path is different. Everyone's journey is different. So if you are one of those ones Remove yourself if they're being inconsistent. Remove yourself if they're not showing up for you the way that you desire. Remove yourself if the love is not there, if the respect is not there, if the communication is not there. That's why it pays off to take that time to be single, so that you do know what you want and what you don't want, what you value and what you don't value, so that when that person is or isn't showing those signs, then you know if this person is or isn't for you. So for me, communication is a big thing. And communication has so many different branches underneath. I could be telling you something, but if I'm not telling you in a way that you can understand, then you're not able to comprehend, and vice versa. And at the end of the day, we've just talked in circles and we've gotten to the bottom of nothing. So communication is a big thing for me, but also comprehension, but also knowing how to relay what you're trying to say to me in a way that is going to get to the bottom of things. And I think that has more to do with your confidence in what you're saying, and your confidence in your truth, which in turn means that you need to have confidence to be in a relationship. You can't just sit here and be afraid to speak your truth. If you don't want to do something and you do it anyway, it just grows resentment towards the person. So that's why it's important to be your own person, but also communicate when things are not in alignment, and to communicate when things don't feel right, and to communicate when a person is crossing your boundaries, which brings me to setting boundaries. If this person is not keeping their word to you, which is a huge thing for me, which also falls under the communication branch, it really doesn't make me feel valued. It doesn't make me feel like I can trust you. So that right there is a major red flag that I know I can't handle, and I know that I'm not willing to negotiate, and that shows me that there's a major character flaw within you, but that has nothing to do with me. So emotional intelligence starts creeping in, and it's telling me, okay, this person can't keep their word. So they can't keep their word to me, so I know that they're not keeping their word to themselves, which is huge, because if you can't do for yourself, you can't do for someone else. That's why it's important to have standards and way less expectations of people, because what I value, you may not value. But because I have this standard of what I value, it's easier for me to walk away from something that's not that. But if I expect for you to have this value, then it's going to cause me in turn to push for you to feel the way that I feel, because I'm codependent. Listen, it all makes sense, and that's how we end up in these toxic relationships, when we have too high of expectations, thinking that someone is supposed to do what we think that they're supposed to do, when really relationships are about two people coming together essentially, but it's also about individuality and knowing that this person is who they are, and they've shown you who they were from the beginning. You just didn't want to believe them. So now you're in this cycle of trying to prove your worth, or trying to prove your value, or trying to make them align with your values, when they don't value being in a romantic relationship. They don't value being in a close friendship. So that's why you have to remove yourself, and that's why you have to know your worth and know who you are, and know that it's no scarcity when it comes down to relationships, to people. There's 7 billion people on this planet. You better get out there and meet some, because I'm not going to keep trying to get this one person to see what I see. They just don't, and that's okay. That's why it's important to know what you want, know your worth, know what you will or will not tolerate, so that you don't fall into those cycles of emotional abuse, emotional neglect. And, I hate to say abuse, but it's really a broad spectrum, but we do end up in those cycles of karma when we try to get someone to be how they're not. It creates resentment, It creates strain in the relationship, and this person feels suffocated because you want them to be how you want them to be. You've painted this perfect picture of them in your mind. You have this fantasy of them, and they're not living up to it, but for some reason you can't let go of this fantasy. So now you're trying to get them to see what you see, or what you think you see in them, but it's not really them. So that's why it's important to be okay if someone is not who you think they are. Like, just because you're attracted to them, just because you think you could see a relationship with them, doesn't mean that that's how this person is. And we just have to accept that it's okay, because there's going to be someone that comes along that values being in a relationship with you, that values relationships, period, that values closeness, that values loyalty, respect, and respecting your time and your energy, because that's a huge thing. We waste our time and our energy on these people when they don't even value it. So now you're left feeling depleted. You have to pour back into your own cup, but you're pouring into your own cup all while pouring into their cup, but they're overflowing and you're depleted. So don't let these people come into your life, men or women. Like, I've seen guy friends get depleted because their significant other were unable to pour into them properly. And that's a self-worth issue. We have to know our worth. We have to take the time to be alone and really work through our wounds that causes us to attract these type of people, so that we can start attracting the people that are more into alignment with what we value. But if you don't know what you value, then you're gonna fall for anything. You're going to let anybody come into your life and steal your energy. And that's just the bottom line. Like, I've been there. It's easier for me to see the red flags now, because back then I wanted love really bad. But now I'm like, okay, I'm really content. Like, I'm content if I talk to you. I'm content if I don't. So it doesn't really matter to me. But I know that I only want to be around people. I only want to have friendships. I only want to have romantic relationships that make me feel good, that make me feel valued, because consistency is what's attractive. Inconsistency gives me the ick. It makes me want to run. And it really is not something that I'm into, nowadays. Now, back then, inconsistency, ooh, honey, let me run and get some of that. But now I'm like, inconsistency, ew. Like, why are you not consistent? If you're not consistent with me, you're not consistent with yourself. You're not keeping your word to me. You're not keeping your word to yourself. You can't pour into the relationship. You're not pouring into yourself. That's just what that shows me. And I'm a type of person, I pour into my relationships because I pour into myself. So I'm not going to let anyone deplete me. I'm not going to let anyone come into my life and not show me something even better than what I'm already giving myself. So keep that in mind. What do you give yourself? How do you show up in relationship? And how do you want someone else to show up in relationship with you? And you should say no to everything that isn't that. Because every time you say no to everything that isn't that, think of it like an algorithm. When you're on Instagram and you say, I don't want to see this anymore. I don't want to see this ad anymore. They stop showing the ad on your Instagram page. It's the same thing with the universe. You're like, they keep sending you people in and you're like, no, that's not it. No, that's not it. And it really just recycles the whole algorithm for you. And eventually you're going to get to the point where you are meeting people who resonate and who align with your core values. And it may not happen overnight, but it will happen at some point. You just have to be patient. So it's not as quick as Instagram telling you, oh, well, you don't want to see this ad no more? Okay, that's it. We're going to show you something different. Depending on what you like on Instagram, it shows you that. So if you continue to entertain toxicity, that's what the universe is going to bring you. So I hope that this helped someone and you received it well, if you love what I had to say, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. If you just want to watch and you don't want to interact, then thank you for being here. I appreciate you anyway for running the views up, honey. Run me up in the algorithm. All right, so I hope that you guys have the most amazing day ever, and I will see you guys the next time that we get to hang out. Bye.